Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Tales from the Podcast. Sorry for the inconvenient time change and everything of things. I mean, life kind of gets in the way, and I'm sure you'll be seeing next episode why it was. But before we get started, I want to remind everybody to buy this comic book. You could use it to level off your chair. Mats, when you're eating and you don't want to make a mess on your table, these come in a really nice plastic cover so you're not going to fuck up your shit. Um, some people said the artwork is so good in here you could jerk off all over the damn thing. So do whatever you like. I don't care. But you can buy this over at talesfromthepodcast.com, and you could buy so many of them that you could ruin as, I don't know, like 30, 40 copies and still be good. With that being said, I'm going to introduce a fan of the show, a friend, a not only that, but probably one of the greatest individuals when it comes to Tales from the Crypt as an entire franchise, who has no real association with that and being part of it, but somebody who's added more to it nowadays than probably anybody else, and that's with his YouTube channel, CryptTube Incorporated. So let's go ahead and introduce my good buddy, John Acevedo.
That was a lovely introduction. I think you give me way too much credit, and I'm flattered.
Well, all right. First off, you need to understand, like Tales from the Crypt fans, especially. I mean, even yourself, because obviously this had to have been part of what led you to do what you did with CryptTube Incorporated.
Mm-hmm.
We have been dying for Blu-ray releases, high def releases. We're not talking 1 or 2 years. We're talking many years. We don't get streaming service for it. We don't have anything. What we have, if we want a good, high quality video with great audio, all the little intro ads, everything that made the show so special in the 90s. The only way to get that whole package together is by going over to your YouTube channel with CryptTube Incorporated. And with that being said, I am going to be sharing that too. So I want everyone to check him out over there, because I'm not joking. And, for those watching live, I mean, youtube.com/@CryptTube Incorporated. Pretty simple. And I believe you have every episode up now.
Yes. I have finally completed all 7 seasons of Tales from the Crypt, and it was a very long journey. I remember when I first talked about this through like the Tales Reddit and Tales fan groups, like how everyone was feeling about the idea. Once I was able to get the software needed to work it, I just needed the hardware at the time. So,
which was more expensive?
the hardware to make this happen. Like I remember I was like I had a very outdated Sony Vaio laptop that I got from back in 2012 that I was trying to run this software on, and a single episode I'm sorry, just trying to do a 4 or 5 minute clip would take 7 days based on the counter. Yeah. Now that I upgraded to the computer that I'm using right now, this hardware, I've been able to expedite the process of rendering and post-production additions and enhancements by like tenfold results. You know what I'm saying? It's like the best way to really articulate that is it's a lot faster.
Well, I mean, you and I have talked about computer specs before, and my computer by any means is not shabby whatsoever.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, I can still do what you're doing, but not nearly as quick as you. And like, I know what I spent. So
Right, right.
I mean, it's like, this guy's not only backed up everything, but he's put his money behind his mouth too. And
No, no, and it was expensive to get the hardware and the computer to do so. It is what it is. I remember when I had first pitched the idea, because what I was asking for was basically like a Kickstarter and a crowdfund process to it. Like, I was asking the fans, like, listen, I am willing to do this, right? I'm
yeah,
willing to do this, but
I
the
believe I
hardware.
actually donated for it.
Yes, you did, and I really do
I
appreciate
mean,
it. It went straight to it,
I,
the
I
fruit. The
I
fruits.
I don't even care where it went. I know what you did, and I know what you deserve for what you did. So
No, 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 like that. See that right there, the whole, like, you don't care where it went. Trust me, it went to the right place. I promise you that, because like that's exactly what I was trying to get the Kickstarter to do. Is because, like, I know a lot of fans had wanted this, right?
yeah,
And I myself wanted to see it, and I was testing out a few clips, like I said, 4 or 5 minutes clips of Tails, and seeing just what it looked like with a 4 or 5 minute clip. And then that is what the gear started turning in my head. And I was just like, I think the fans would really like this. So when I had pitched the idea of a Kickstarter or a crowdfund, I didn't get any reception to it except for you and a few others. Very small, minute group. I was getting downvoted in a lot of like threads or whatever the case may be. They were just like, "Oh, here's another guy who's trying to steal money from people, and he's not going to actually do this thing." But eventually, I just caved in. I just took a nice little swipe on my debit card, and there it was. So I just pretty much said,
and,
"F it." I'm just gonna,
and
you
how many
know,
years
make.
later are you still paying off that debit card? No,
Oh, no, 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 no! I
I'm
paid it.
joking.
No,
I'm
no, no!
joking.
Like, I paid for the computer in full, and I don't want to go and put a specific number on it, but
I, I know.
let's just say it's a
I know
few
what it
thousand.
is. I
Yeah,
got a very, very good idea, and
yeah,
you know,
and like the reason why it was so expensive is because, like, I wanted specific, specifications. I wanted the top notch specifications that I needed, that I knew was going to get me the fastest renders at the highest capabilities and be able to produce the episodes a lot quicker. Now, a lot of people would probably ask me at this point,
not to
detailing
mention
this,
the
like,
storage needed for something that large, because a lot of
absolutely,
people don't
yes.
realize the storage needed for that is insane.
Yes, yes, and I'll get into the storage in a minute, but like the whole concept of going out of my way to try to get this whole thing to happen, and I was just like, oh boy, this is not only expensive, but it was worthwhile in the long run. The storage and the specifications to be able to run the program, the hardware that I needed to at the speed that I wanted, based on the RAM that I needed, expedited the whole process of getting it done, but by 10 times the usual time limit that it was going to be for a single episode. A single episode with my old Sony laptop would have taken 14 days.
Oh God. Uh,
14 days.
Can you at least tell us how much quicker it was?
A single episode takes about 2 hours now.
Ooh, god damn.
It takes about 2 hours compared to 14 days. So let's just do the math on that really quick. 2 hours per single episode, and then times that by 93 episodes.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's not even counting the post production stuff that I do after the render. That's not even
right.
counting for that. So, and then,
All the extra bonus features and stuff that you pop up in there too.
well, I wouldn't call it bonus features. I mean, a lot of
Well,
people
no.
love.
I mean, like just like ad spots, things like that. Like you go and it's like not only you're getting just the episodes on your channel, but I mean, there's a little bit of everything, and not just that, but I mean, you
Mhm.
even skew a little bit out of the Tales from the Crypt stuff for certain things too.
Well, yeah, because, like, I know for a fact the channel is pretty much tailored for Tales from the Crypt, but I know the overall like the overall theme of it is anthology and
Right.
horror and TV shows that we grew up with. So I know for a fact a lot of people would love to see what the Munsters intro would look like upscaled, at 4K, or
Right.
Freddy's Nightmares, The Outer Limits, Twilight
Yeah.
Zone,
You even done
all
things that nobody wanted to see either.
yeah, but I mean,
Like
because
like the Tales from the Crypt segment from the Ritual.
yes, yes, yeah, like a lot of
Things
people were
like
just like,
nobody knew.
oh my, yeah, because it was bad enough looking at that on a DVD format, right? And then all of a sudden, the moment you see it in 4K, it's just like, oh, okay, we appreciate what you're doing, John, but don't upscale that bullshit.
Well, John just did the voice work. That puppet, like, it's like Kevin Yeager was like, "This is my apprentice's apprentice, and
Mhm.
we're gonna let him make this doll." And he just went
Yeah.
and bought it from Spencer's.
Yeah.
Like,
I really no good comedy aside from that, because that is actually almost pretty much dead on accurate as to how their approach was. But Van Snowden taking over for Kevin Yeager on doing the puppeteering for that, you know, I still attest to the idea that that fucking puppet is actually the one from the old game show, and like it just kind of like started getting a lot more, older and less. It had less articulate movements, and not to mention, if you ever watched the New Year's Shocking Eve like behind the
yeah,
scenes footage, you could see them actually operating the Crypt Keeper based on computer software. It's no longer truly the puppeteering method that Kevin Yeager would utilize with his team back in the 90s.
right, which is by far much superior, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. There was a whole nother level of magic that came into that level of puppeteering versus what we have now.
right. So, anyways, before we go into this episode, we're obviously both Kevin Yeager fans, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, of
Oh
course. I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, exactly.
my
Now,
my shrine is basically based on his work.
uh, d- what do I gotta say? I mean, I'm like, there's not too many differences. I mean, you got a few things I don't got. I got a few things you don't got. But I mean, overall,
Mhm.
you could tell we're basically the same when it comes down to a lot of it.
Oh, no
Now,
argument for me.
that little guy right there behind you. I'm curious on your opinions on the little guy that played him and actually did the work on that movie in the original '88 film, Mr. Ed Gale, and what's been going on with him.
Oh yeah, I just recently came across that. Man, shame on that fucking dude, bro. Like, and
Yeah,
like I'm trying not to get too. I mean, it's fucked up. It's big. It's big time fucked up. And it's. I know a lot of people love Ed Gale, and it sucks that he is that person. He is that guy. I never would have imagined it because at first, like it started off as rumors and like it was kind of like unfounded, but then people were kind of showing a little bit more evidence and whatnot that was going towards that.
oh yeah, it's
But
been
then he
coming
just
out for years.
say what?
It's been coming out for years. I mean, there's been
Yeah.
Instagram pages against him and stuff like that, and
Oh, I
you
never
know,
came across those.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I
There's
never came across
yeah,
those. But
and
then
yeah,
I saw the footage and I was just like, okay, there it is. Yep,
yeah,
that's it.
right
Yep,
now.
and it
Ew.
fucking sucks.
I will say that and I've not told anybody really about this behind the scenes. I've told quite a few people, including yourself at one point. I don't know if you remember, but there has been a couple of celebrities that I've gotten into arguments with, and I mean, not exactly some of the nicest things said back and forth. And now I will say one of them was Ed Gale. I've you know hinted at it in the past, but I've never come out and said it. But he has approached me for doing some promotional stuff for him at one point, and I said something that he didn't like, and he got pretty mean, and it was all over me replying with calling him buddy, and he lost his shit.
he lost his shit for you calling him. But is there
Oh yeah.
context here that I'm not catching?
Oh no, he went on his whole rant about my name is Ed and not Buddy, and
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he just didn't like the fact you called him buddy, and then he went on a tirade.
Oh, dude, yeah, it really pissed that dude off, dude. Like way more than it probably ever should have. But
Well, well, I think he should be worried about some other kind of name calling at this point now instead of buddy.
right,
But
yeah, exactly. But I just thought it
yeah,
was
he's
a
got
little
more
bit
important things to
of,
worry about.
yeah. I just think doing this kind of show. I mean, we obviously gotta at least mention it, especially with somebody who's. I mean, I know we're both horror fans, but I mean, fucking Howard the Duck too. You gotta ruin that one for me.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, like the fact is like he is basically
how's it going?
synonymous with the Child's Play franchise. Well, hey, what's up, man? He's synonymous with the Child's Play franchise. You know, like he's done so much work. Playing as like the walking version of Chucky, and that's what he's prominently known for. He's done other work, yes, but
Right.
like now it's going to raise a lot of questions in that fan base where like what did he do to no, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Well,
Plays Andy
you're
Barkley.
fine. Say that again.
He plays Andy Barkley. He plays Andy Barkley in the original, in the second one.
Oh, does he?
No. I mean, like the actor who plays Andy Barkley.
Oh, okay. Oh God. In the second one,
No, the first and second one, the original Andy Barkley.
I know who you're talking about.
Oh, Alex Vincent. Alex
Yes,
Vincent.
yes. There it is.
I'm drawing like
No,
terrible
no.
short-term memory, but yeah, like so now that's going to raise questions within
He
the
still
fan
does
base. Like,
stuff. Yeah. Like years after Michael Jackson passed away, and everyone was wondering about how all the other child actors that were ever a part of anything with him.
but then
They
again, if Alex, if anything had happened, I'm sure Alex
thanks,
would have
Jeff.
said something. But at this point, if let's say for example, hypothetically, if something had happened with Alex, then I'm pretty sure that's on his discretion to basically divulge that
Right.
information to the public, and like whatever he feels necessary. And if it didn't if nothing happened, then perfect, great. But
Right.
it's just like it's like how people perceive the Jeepers Creepers franchise.
Yeah. I mean,
You had Victor Salva, directing those films, and
right.
knowing what we know about Victor Salva, a lot of people just stay away from that franchise. Some people separate the artist from, the art from the director, that kind of stuff. It's all perceptive.
Well, unfortunately, both of those director and art kind of turned into shit with the last one, with that last Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, we're not talking about that. No,
But which was basically a 90-minute advertisement for Horror Hound, which is kind of insane. But
yeah, and like the remake was terrible, and like the third one was terrible. But whatever.
Yeah, Jeff says, I read about this whole thing earlier and it's fucked up. Hopefully he didn't do anything while on set. I mean, it's hard saying. I mean, on the bright side, we know we never tried to put moves on Leah Thompson and Howard the Duck, which is always a good thing because, I mean, she's like top-notch lady of Hollywood.
Well, I mean, yeah, thank God he didn't. But at the same time, like he clearly didn't have a taste for Leah. Like he had a taste for other things. So.
Yeah, he definitely did. He says, I am unable, in some respects, to separate art from the artist, but sometimes a person is just too big a piece of shit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
And with Ed publicly going out after being caught and just admitting everything, it almost makes it worse. And using his medical conditions as an excuse not to arrest him is kind of a shitty move on the state of California and the police department there. I mean, it's I don't know if maybe they're just that liberal in California where they're getting to the point of being okay with pedophiles being not in prison, but I mean, realistically, I mean, people like that just there should be some kind of fast track to the fucking death penalty when you're doing shit like that. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I'm definitely not one for like. If you're that,
Jeff's in California, I forgot about that.
Say what?
He's in California. I forgot about that. He's
Really?
The cop out my state is fucking stupid.
My personal opinion is like if you're a pedophile and whatnot, you man or woman, like you need to be fucking taken care of and dealt with. Like, and I
I
try
agree.
in this realm, like the whole idea of being pacifistic in that is like, oh well, they'll get what's coming to them. That there's a special place in hell for people like that.
Yeah, that's what they say, but I mean, it's just it, it's not enough for me. It should be fast tracked. I mean, there's
Well,
just
I mean,
something, you know.
no, I comprehend that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
understand where you're coming from. Unfortunately, we live realistically, stuff like that is always either going to get sheltered or it doesn't happen as fast as we want it. You know?
yeah. I mean, I know that wasn't there correct me if I'm wrong, anybody listening, but wasn't there a period in time when they were trying to give those kinds of people certain rights? Is it more being like a mental illness than them doing something wrong?
I've heard some people like there's so many approaches to that whole level of it, like, and people try to bring this whole different dynamic to to the conversation. Can it be construed as a mental illness? Yes, but at the same time, like we all know morally that's not right to be involved with a child,
Right.
no matter and other people try to justify because we all have state laws, right? Where people
Oh
say,
yeah.
okay, well, you can be sexually involved with a teenager at the age of 15 based on what state regulations will mandate. And then as long as there's like a 4 year difference in between that, then it's justified and it's okay. Some other clauses in state regulations of that would basically say as long as the family of the minor is approving of the relationship. That
Right.
I've seen
Parental
it in
consent.
form. Hmm?
Right. Yeah, I said yes, parental consent. Because I think
Yeah,
it's more they didn't want a lawsuit about treating him wrong because of his medical shit. He's a predator, plain and simple.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I just, I mean, there's plenty of people in prison that have medical issues, and I mean, it's just one of those things where it's, to me, it's just a cop out. Kind of like what you said earlier, Jeff. But
yeah.
anyways, I definitely felt it was a little bit relevant to at least mention some of it because I mean, we don't get horror news like that most of the time, so when it does, I feel like definitely got to at least mention it on some level.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, it goes back to like motherfuckers like Jeffrey Jones. You remember Jeffrey Jones, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like, but this goes back to the whole concept of separating art from like the individual. I bet you any money nobody will ever stop watching Beetlejuice.
no, no, probably
Because
not.
he was a prominent
They're
figure.
still trying to get a number two.
Yeah, they're still
Yeah,
trying for that. I don't know if it's ever gonna happen.
yeah, for real. Jeff said there's still a movement to try to normalize it as identifying as, but when it involves a child, it's not able to comprehend what's going on so many levels. It's abuse, plain and simple. Yeah, I
Oh, okay,
agree.
yeah, yeah. It's obviously abuse, plain and simple. But we're also dealing with a society nowadays that like takes the term grooming and applies it to everything into a broad spectrum, which
Yes.
now puts a huge ass shadow and cloud on what real grooming is. You
Oh,
know,
John, don't you wish it was back in the 90s? No, I'm just-
man. Like I still wish I was a fucking kid myself because like it's just an easier time. Like we didn't have to worry and focus on these things. Our parents did, and like now that we're seeing the world in a different perspective now, in a different level, because we're adults now, we have the true ability to actually understand what's going on and what we see and what we hear, and
right.
it makes what we were taught as kids look like complete fucking pudding. It looks like crap.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, you're not wrong at all. Oh, it makes me miss the year 1996 when this episode came out that we're going to talk about here too. Oh,
That's a good segue.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And
That's a good segue.
hey, I this is why I get paid nothing. So but we're going to talk about the episode Smoke Rings, which is starring a pretty young Daniel Craig.
Yep.
I
Before he
mean,
was James Bond, man.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, you cannot tell that he was going to be James Bond after watching this episode. Like, you can tell this is pretty early in his acting career for sure. And I guess to dive into this a little bit, this did get released in 1996. In fact, it was originally aired June 21st and is based off the comic book. Well, from one of the stories in Vault of Horror, issue number 34. Now, this episode, like I said, stars Daniel Craig, and not I guess. Well, would you say it really stars him? I mean, he's in it, but it was directed by Mandy Fletcher,
Mm-hmm.
and Mandy Fletcher is probably. I'm trying to think of like what would she be best known for. So that's one of the things that's really bad about this. Like going through some of these, especially from season 7, it's like, well, what's this person really known for? It's like the stuff that's famous is stuff I don't really care about, and a lot of
Yeah.
the other stuff is foreign. So it's like I don't even know some of this stuff. So I mean, she's been around. She's done a lot of stuff, but I've never heard of Bladdings. I've never heard of Stella. I've heard of Absolutely Fabulous, but I mean, she only did 3 episodes.
Right. Like,
Bladderford. I mean, a lot of the stuff I just don't know.
yeah, I noticed with season 7, obviously because like they went to Europe, they really more so honed in on the idea of getting obviously British actors and actresses, but they also honed in on getting more British directors and producers. They wanted to try to basically encapsulate their whole trip to Europe with getting anyone that they could to basically, be a
Right.
part of the show.
Yeah, well, they
So
had a whole casting, department there as well as here for this stuff.
right.
So I mean, it does make sense. In this episode, though, we do have Dennis Lawson. He's definitely been around. I mean, as far as me personally, he was Wedge in Star Wars.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's personally where I know him from. But on top of being a Tales from the Crypt fan, I may be a Star Wars fan. So
No, you're not a Star Wars fan. What are you talking
no,
about?
no, I made it up. Never mind. No, I'm
You got those tattoos as a fad.
yeah, I was looking around in this book of cool symbols, and I was like, you know what? I don't know what those are, but I'm gonna get them.
You watched the sequel trilogy and you're like, I'm a fan.
Right? Yeah. I mean, nothing has brought me into loving Star Wars as much as when I saw Jar Jar Binks on.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's what really made it.
You mean to tell me, JB, that you've never heard of Patrick the Pug? JK.
Shame on you, Jay. Shame on you.
Oh God. But going into some of the stuff with Dennis Lawson, though, I mean, a ton of TV shows and stuff. For instance, one of them that I thought was really interesting in here, just because there's always Law and Order this, Law and Order that, but he was in Law and Order UK, which I mean, talk about it's a
There's
thing.
a UK version of Law and Order.
Yeah, it was just called Law and Order UK. So just think about that for a second. It's like they've reached that kind of realm of Law and Order to the point of that. But Dennis is definitely more of a TV actor and TV movie actor. That's for sure.
Right.
But been in, like I said, a ton of shit. Definitely best known, I'm gonna say though, with the Star Wars franchise. At least those are definitely probably the biggest stuff he's done. Daniel Craig. Do I have to really say it? I mean, he's probably best known now for James Bond. I mean, that's what most people are going to know him as. Even though he's not my James Bond, that's what most people are going to know him as.
I always like Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, but Daniel Craig's not bad.
Me too, but I think it's our age.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
Generation of Bond.
God damn it, Jeff. I like Star Wars too. Spock is so cool when he's flying the moon. God damn it.
I like this guy.
Jeff's awesome. If you saw the review we did of the movie Kung Pao Enter the Fist, That was my buddy.
Oh no, I didn't get a chance to check that one out.
Yeah, that was him that did that with me, and he and I bonded quite well over that movie, which nobody ever bonds over that movie. But
I can't
yeah,
remember the last time I actually watched that. It's funny. I actually just haven't got a chance to. It's been such a long time since I actually heard someone talk about Kung Pao. Like,
dude, if you want to borrow it, I'll send you my VHS.
oh, you got the VHS? Damn,
Fuck
dude.
yeah, I got the
You want me
VHS.
to upscale it for you? I'll upscale that shit. I have the VCR hardware for that too.
Oh my god, do we want? Wee wee. God damn it! Oh, I gotta love those Kung Pao references. But I agree with you about Pierce, though. I think it's somebody, our age, we're definitely the group of people that see him as our James Bond. Kind of like how our parents will only know James Bond as Sean Connery.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know.
Mm.
We also got Tress Hanley in this episode as well. Um, I mean, she didn't do much after this, to be honest with you. I mean, this right here is definitely more the end of her career type stuff. She did do. She was in Eyes Wide Shut after this, but for the most part, she didn't do much else. Period. She
Okay.
was in. She was in the movie Grimm from the '90s, and like I said, just not a lot of stuff. She just didn't really do anything. It's just kind of unfortunate. Um, I'm kind of curious on what her life ended up leading to. I
Yeah,
will
probably
say
that
that
gets
she also wasn't from England either. She was actually from Jersey City, New Jersey. So
Mm.
it's kind of odd getting her in this episode to begin with. So, this is one of those rare instances. This is season 7 where we got an American actually in the episode.
I don't recall. Was she actually trying to use a British voice in that, or was she just straight up American in that episode?
The Probably the fake British accent. The invasion is Daniel Craig's best work. I mean, maybe. I mean, I've never been a huge Daniel Craig fan personally. I mean, I've heard the Knives Out series and stuff like that's pretty good, but I mean, he's not really intertwined into the genre of stuff that I watch. You
I
know,
really enjoyed him in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
I always look at that movie and I'm like, I should watch that. And then every time I usually choose Scooby Doo instead. So
Where are we talking about Matthew Lillard's Scooby Doo or
no,
just
no,
like the
no,
cartoon?
the cartoon.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He was neither am I. I just wanted to see if that causes a ruckus.
It didn't with me. I mean, I never even know he actually done a film called The Invasion.
Right. We also got Oot Lemper in this episode as well. What a name. Just Oot Lemper. And she's actually still excuse me, she's actually still doing stuff. She just did a couple episodes of The Masked Dancer in Germany recently. But
You notice that all these competition shows that they do and whatnot always seem to branch out to other countries. Like the moment, like it has its first season.
right, right. Well, to be fair though, yeah. I mean, I can see her doing this though, because like her first probably about 10 movies on her thing. I'm not even going to try to say because I don't speak German. That's the titles of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So like the thing that she did the most of was in 1987, and I will attempt this one for everybody. Das Irby der Golderbergs.
So
No
she's more
fucking
prominent
clue.
as a German actress, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I would assume so, but then again, I could be entirely wrong that it's even German. I'm just assuming it's German because she's in the German Mass Singer.
Mm.
So I mean, in the
How
name
dare
of
you
respect,
generalize, Jay?
I,
How
I
dare you?
I mean, you could probably get me on generalizing it, yes, but I mean,
Dude, I'm fucking with you.
at least I'm taking a shot in the dark at something. All right.
No, hey, I'll shut up.
No, it's like look at JB over here just making stuff up. He doesn't even know where that girl's from. He's just
Yeah, he's just assuming. He's just guesstimating.
I 100% did, and I will fully admit that. Uh, yeah. See, I mean, nope. There it is. She's from Munster, North Rhine, West something Germany. There we go. She is German.
Oh, she's German, or she is from Germany.
Yes, yes.
I mean, for all we know, she could be Russian. She just lives in Germany, or she was raised in Germany.
Oh, she was born there, but so I really, I don't know, maybe. I mean,
I mean,
I'm looking
I'm
at her
Puerto Rican.
mini
I
bio.
was born in America, so.
I mean, I mean, I'm looking at a lot of her stuff. She did drama school in Vienna, which Vienna, for those who don't know, is very very well known for Vienna sausages. Um, I believe that's all that's ever come out of there. That is a historic fact, by the way. So there's really no point in even arguing that with me. But I do know it says that it says now that she is a full time musician and songwriter and stage personality, and she's married to Todd Turkshire. But I
Never heard
don't
of
know any of that, and I don't even know what band she's in. Um, I mean, let's see. Performed at Roger Waters,
it. I mean, it's not that
concert.
important.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Apparently, she has a career as a singer, though. I mean, she quit acting in 2003 due to her career as a singer.
And then
So,
she
and
ended up on The Masked Singer in Germany, right?
she
I mean, it
actually
makes
won
sense.
a Best Actress awards for a musical in Chicago for the
So
actually
she basically went
performing.
the J Lo route.
Yeah, yeah, except backwards. Because didn't J Lo start as a actor? Well, she started as
Yeah,
a dancer, didn't she?
she started as an actor, and then she went more into music, and then she kind of goes back and forth between acting and music now.
Yeah, both of which are just kind of rough. Some people just don't need to do either or. I mean, I'm not a big fan of
I'm
both.
not a J Lo fan, but hey, she's clearly doing something right.
I mean, some people just get the parts because they're eye candy.
Yes, dude.
That's how I've gotten all my roles.
Oh
So
yeah, I know. You're fucking.
JB just does a dart at a map, and that's where people are from. I mean,
You
you
know what?
could look
Hey,
at it that way.
no. At this point, man, like you just gotta fucking have a globe right behind you. From this point on, every single
I
time
really should.
you look into somebody's background, you're just gonna point on the fucking on the globe and tell us where they're from.
Right. And then I'm gonna get a different thing and just write down like 15 different things. It's like that's the story of their life too. And I'm just gonna just make up every little bit of it from now on. No
This is
more
the geographical life origin of this person.
what I need to do too is just get like all my movies I own and put up some shelves behind me too. And then I'll just randomly pick 4 of them and say that they're in those movies too. And just never look up anything on IMDb again. Just make it all up.
Yep, exactly. Just run with it. Just run with it.
Just-
You're fanficking at this point.
exactly. Yes, Vienna is most famous for sausages. Mozart, Beethoven, or fraud didn't have a profound impact on anything. I mean, you can't
Based
get
on JP's
Mozart or
perspective,
Beethoven or fraud in a can, but you can get their sausages in a can at every
based
store.
on JP's perspective, yeah, fuck Mozart, Beethoven, and fraud.
I mean, think about it. What do you see more? Do you see more Mozart, Beethoven, fraud, or their sausages?
That is so. Oh, you know what? No,
It's
I'm not even gonna
unfair,
touch
but
that.
I'm
You know what?
right.
No, fuck that. I'm not touching that one. Nope.
You're like, nope, not even gonna try this one. Oh man. So, anyways, let's jump into this plot synopsis a little bit here for this episode. So, Smoke Rings, a young man with a strange device, is hired on an advertising company by an esteemed executive. But what the executive doesn't know is that the young man is in cahoots with her enraged ex partner who is out for revenge. That plot synopsis becomes void by the end of this episode.
Yes, it does.
So, as a quick kind of just walking through of this episode, we get Daniel Craig, who kind of comes in with a lot of confidence, kind of sometimes sometimes when a comic comes up and you just can't help but just give it a little laugh there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You've never had Mozart smoked meats? So something stupid. No, never. But I've
Fucking
had some.
shame.
So,
I had
anyways,
some meats.
did you? Were they good?
That's why I'm questioning your life choices. Yes, I did.
Oh man. So yes, we get Daniel Craig as a freelance kind of advertiser guy who kind of like gets his way into this company by kind of basically, what'd you say? Basically having big brass balls. But he gets in with her, and you can tell there's kind of like a flirty thing going on, and he ends up going to like one of their first little meetings where he basically calls out one of his coworkers now for not really doing a great job with the work that he's doing, which I mean, considering that it was for a candy company, it was it was legitimately shitty work in my opinion.
Mhm.
But that's just my opinion of that. um from there, we end up figuring out about the ex-employee who used to work there and doesn't now, and him trying to basically get back at everyone because he was basically let go, which by the
He's
end of
fucking
this,
fired.
by the end of it though, I mean it's just a whole clusterfuck of bullshit. um from there we end up getting him, Daniel Craig's character is basically trying to get the other employee to kill the woman who hired him on, and that
Mhm.
doesn't really end up working out for him, so he goes and does it himself. And after he does that, he kind of like basically loses his fucking shit and throws himself out of a window. From there, we basically realize that everybody was in cahoots together except for him, and it kind of ends there with Daniel Craig still, because we got 4K, still breathing but dead. So thanks. That's one thing that I will say about season 7 that I've noticed 3 times now is dead people breathing because of your 4K uploads. So I will say, in a way, you are ruining part of the show, but I love it.
You're
Hey John.
welcome. You're fucking welcome.
Right, right. And Unsure 88. I love the comic version of the story. I don't think I've seen the show version. Great
Don't waste your
segue.
time. Don't waste your time.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, John wasted his time putting this up for us to watch, but the comic book story. Now, thank you for saying that, because that's a great segue when somebody else sets it up for me. Um, did you get a chance to read the comic book for this?
I
Or
actually no, I did not get a chance to read the comic for it.
okay, well, the comic book for this is actually significantly better, and it reminds me of the good old days too, may I add. So there's the first page, just for those who want to see a little bit of the art and check it out. Now, it's also about an advertising company, which is cool. I mean, they keep that aspect of it, but it's about a girl who's basically stealing somebody's idea of a billboard, and that blows out smoke rings. The company is not a candy company. This is one of the things that reminds me of my childhood, because growing up, I don't know about everybody here, but you might have had a Coleman sleeping bag and a Coleman lantern, but all my stuff growing up was from Marlboro Points. So I had a Marlboro sleeping bag. So this
We're
was a
talking about
sick
growing up in the '90s and whatnot. You're really bringing it back, homie. You
dude.
really. He said Marlboro points. Oh, shit. All those little cutouts of UPC codes off of carton of cigarettes. Holy shit!
See, that's the
Holy
great part, is the fact that you know what I'm talking about. You
yeah, yeah, like my aunt and uncle were heavy ass Marlboro pack smokers, man.
so
Like
you
I'm talking
saw
about chain
stuff that I
smoking
had.
shit. Yeah, so I actually got a Marlboro black and red book bag and whatnot because of their smoking. So
Yeah,
it's just like,
I got the
okay,
black and red checker sleeping bag and the
yeah.
the
I,
lantern that
I,
tastes
I
like
was reaping
angel.
the no with those points. I was reaping the benefits of their lung cancer development. You know what I'm
Nice.
saying? Like I don't know.
But he is an advertiser for a smoking company. It's for Llama brand, which I mean, you can't get a clearer knockoff of Camel than Llama, but
Yeah.
I love it. Um, this girl takes interest in him though and loves the idea for this billboard that blows out these smoke rings. Unfortunately, or Camel, they had smoke. This is exactly what it's kind of based off of, except for the fact that I'm pretty sure that this right here is basically just a spoof off of what Camel was doing. Um, he had this idea for this billboard. This woman ended up taking his idea and trying to keep him away from the advertising company. So he was always taking him, out on dates, going home together, and she was basically just keeping him away from figuring out what was going on, with her selling the idea as her own. And eventually they get the billboard made. It's all working. And he's like, "Oh, how much money did we make? Blah blah blah." And as soon as they're doing that, they're up inside the opposite side of the billboard where you can't see, and she pushes him into the boiling kind of steamy liquid and kills him, which which is great for these older EC comic books. Now, of course, we have to have our little twist though. And our twist is when she's unveiling this and talking about it, she's up there and too close to the billboard herself, pushes the buttons for the smoke rings that actually start showing the smoke rings, and the smoke rings themselves are so hot they basically boil her alive and she dies. So she ends up dead anyway. And that's basically, the entire comic book, which Unsure 88, man, I'm telling you, the comic book version is much better than the show version for this one. I would
Mhm.
have loved to see somebody boiled alive actually in this episode. You
I
know,
really wouldn't. I really wouldn't be shocked if a lot of fans, especially ones who are really more so in depth with the EC comic stories, who really have a passion for those stories, to actually try to adapt those stories for their own like YouTube web series. I would love to watch that because, like we discussed earlier, like when it comes to like the later, see, like the episodes at first in the first few seasons, they were a lot more truer to what we were seeing in the comics. They
oh
were
yeah.
they were adapted, but they weren't as loose as it progressively got throughout the show.
Well,
You
to
know.
be fair, I mean, like seasons 1 through most of 6 are pretty dead on, other than some time period changes to make things
Mhm.
more modern. Which I mean, you're going to expect that of any adaptation period. I mean, that's normal.
Yeah,
But
yeah, of
once you
course.
get to the end of 6 and especially 7, I mean, what was the episode that was basically like a fucking monkey claw episode? Then that never fucking existed like that in the fucking comic book. I mean, they just flat out stole the name and didn't even try.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, you were getting that a lot in season 7, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if maybe EC Comics were never distributed over there, because they clearly never knew the source material.
Well, that could be a factor. I mean, I don't really know. It's more so speculation on my part to kind of give you an answer on that. The whole thing about it is like EC Comics. I don't know if they ever actually. That's more of a question for Tommy Burns, who actually is an ambassador for that brand. So he would know a lot more to answer that
Right.
question than I would in terms of how far they distributed their comics if they went overseas. In terms of what they were trying to do with the episodes and whatnot, uh, nah, like they didn't really go out of the way to really truly adapt the story, because that's also a factor where they go with the writers. So like Al Katz will be able to answer that question a lot better. Gil Adler will be able to answer that question as to what their approach was when it came to writing the seventh season and what they were trying to do in terms of adapting the comics to the seventh season. So,
Right, right. Well, I
and
know
if I recall, they
at
actually
least
did an episode on that.
right. And unfortunately, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love, like Gilbert Adler, Al Katz. I mean, they brought some of the shit I love to life, which is great. It's just like, how can they go from doing so many things so right to being so lazy at the end?
Well, that's not usually that was based on what I've seen or heard from their podcast. That's not those weren't decisions that were made by them. They always had a lot of interference from HBO as well as what's his name, Joel Silver. Joel Silver was one of the biggest factors when it came down to the interference of what they were going to do with the show and with Bordello of Blood. So that was because remember, like Bordello of Blood was obviously, one of the detriments and one of the nails in the coffin, so to speak, for the franchise because they were going to go with a different actress to play Lilith, but Joel Silver, who was friends with Sylvester Stallone and had connections with him, basically said, you know what, we're gonna actually hire Sylvester's girlfriend, to play Lilith, and it was what's her face,
like Eva Longoria, right?
no,
Uh,
no,
no. And now it's Eleniak. Oh
no,
God.
not Erica
No
Elliott.
fucking A. God damn
Angie Everhart. Angie Everhart.
Yeah, that's who it is. Mine's like
Angie
half
Everhart.
covered up there. I can't see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Angie Everhart was, if I
There
recall,
we go.
she was a model. She was a model,
Yes.
right?
She wasn't
And
even an actress.
yeah, she wasn't an actress. She just happened to be the arm candy of Sylvester Stallone, and to kind of like appease Sylvester for, I guess, a deal he was trying to make with Sylvester or a film.
Right.
Basically was like, you know what, let's get Angie to be in this movie, and then that's
I
when he
think she
pitched
did
it over.
what did she do like Last Action Hero before that, and that was like it.
I don't recall her in Last Action Hero.
Oh, dude, she was
Maybe I'm wrong.
definitely in Last Action Hero.
I'm probably wrong. But um,
Yeah, she did that. The Mommies, Jade, and then Bordello of Blood.
okay,
Yep.
but yeah,
Yeah.
so like a lot of the interference that they were dealing with and whatnot when it came down to some of the ideas they were going with the last few seasons, and then Bordello of Blood, they had a lot of issues with Joel Silver. And you know what the funny thing is, bringing up Joel Silver, like I remember having this conversation on Dads from the Crypt, and the idea of like, because I'm not bad mouthing Joel Silver, because in many cases when you're running a tight ship like that, you're running a fucking business, especially when you're a Hollywood producer running some of the biggest films and television shows, whatever. Sometimes you got to be a little cutthroat. You got to be an asshole in that business.
Right.
On other occasions, though, a lot of people have come forth about Joel Silver saying that he is not a nice guy. Just for example, I actually have an email here from an individual who actually, let me see, who I spoke to about Joel Silver. Let's see if I can find it.
By chance, is this one of them that you possibly sent me when we were talking about the trial?
No,
Okay.
this is different. So this man, his name is Richard Edlin, right? He was actually the former CEO and president of Big Boss Studios, FX, right? That company is actually the company that helped direct the opening sequence of the show.
All right.
And I reached out to him. I wanted to see if I can get him on my channel to have an interview with him about the sequence and give us more details as opposed to what we already know.
Right.
And he responds with, "Hello, we created the opening sequence for Tales from the Crypt with Bob Zemeckis directing. I kept the haunted house model for years and finally sold it at a Profiles in History auction some years ago. Fun to shoot. Neil Crapella was director of photography. Boss Optical Department comped the sequence. It was used over and over, but Joel Silver never paid for its reuse as he previously promised. Quote unquote, this is coming from Joel Silver, sue me." He said, "Not a nice guy." And that's how he ended the email.
That doesn't surprise me. Now,
So
looking into Richard, though, I mean, this guy is. I mean, we're not talking about some shitty kind of person. I mean, he's a visual effects supervisor for the Creeping Terror, Star Wars, multiple Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Poltergeist, um, Return of the Jedi, Ghostbusters, Fright Night. I mean, Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, this
he's a
guy
household
did.
name.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we're talking big time shit.
Yeah, he's a household name in the visual effects department for many, many movies.
Oh, dude, I mean, ooh, yeah, and not just he looks like he's not only just like behind the scenes on a lot of stuff. It looks like he's in charge of a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but then again, you also got to remember he was the visual effects supervisor for the movie Bedazzled, unfortunately. So you know,
Hey
it,
man, like not every movie or TV show is gonna be a gem.
no,
You're gonna
honestly,
have to
looking through his career, I think that's the only one that might not be a gem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, even when we were talking the TV stuff he did. I mean, he worked for the Magical World of Disney, Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek, Tales from the Crypt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know what Angels in America is. I mean, that might have been great too. I mean, he got quite a few nominations for that too. So it's
I think that
a,
was an HBO show. It sounds familiar. I think that was an HBO show.
I don't know, Angels in America. I mean, it's a a 2003 American HBO miniseries,
Mm-hmm.
based off of a book, obviously. Yeah, about six New Yorkers whose lives intersect. So I mean, it's a drama. It definitely sounds deep. It
Yeah.
had Meryl Streep and Al Pacino in it. So I mean, I don't know how the fuck I didn't know about that. I mean, there's some pretty fucking big names there. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting though. I mean, the guy's fucking his resume is impressive as all fucking hell.
Yeah, but going back to the overall point of this segue here was that I assume, right? I assume that they had a lot of interference when it came down to how they were going to tackle some of the later episodes in those later seasons, and they ran a
Right.
lot of interference. So,
Right. Well, I mean, that's unfortunate. I mean, Joel Silver has his name attached to quite a few things that I love, and it's always sad when somebody turns out to not be the same person that you loved. But then again, it kind of circles back to how we started this episode with talking about Ed Gale. So,
mhm.
I mean, I probably shouldn't compare Joel Silver to a pedophile, but
Hey, yeah, I mean, like it's like that whole concept of never meet your heroes,
yeah.
right? You know,
Except for
because
John Cassier, I'm going to tell you right now that was still amazing.
yeah, he's wholesome, but
Yeah, yeah. You got your time coming up too, don't you?
I'm sorry. Oh, to meet him? Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm almost there. I'm going to be at Texas Frightmare very, very soon at the end of May. So I'm going to be able to. I already got my tickets. I'm lined up. I'm still trying to figure out what I want him to sign. I don't know yet what I want
Well,
him to sign.
I went with a whole book bag of stuff. So, I mean, all I can say to you is good luck. I mean,
I'm
most of the
honestly
people there
take a
had
lot of
like one or
stuff.
two things. I had a whole bag.
I would actually like to have him sign my Crypt Keeper doctorate.
That wouldn't be a bad one. I mean, I had him do toys, movies, and stuff, and mask.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah, there's
you
so
know,
much
I,
here.
I
Figure out.
mean, yeah, it would be definitely hard with that collection that you got. I mean, well, what you should do is take in the entire set of trading cards and add them.
Yeah, have him sign every single one.
Yeah.
No, but I
That's
actually
pretty
am
cool.
considering having him sign this too. It's
Uh,
signed by Mike Vosberg, and I already have that drawing by Mike Vosberg for the Demon Knight Crypt Keeper. I would
yeah,
love to get his signature on this too.
I mean that would be cool. I mean, is it cased up or is it just in the plastic?
It's in a plastic case that I could easily slip it out.
All right. So it's not like a graded case where it's a little bit more difficult.
And I know he's big on wearing masks and whatnot, so I'm gonna be respectful and wear my mask for him.
Oh yeah, he's definitely. JB asked him to sign his cleavage, but he ran out of time.
You ran out of time. Was Jeff with you?
Huh?
Was Jeff with you?
No. Jeff's just over there talking shit just because he can't. But no, that's awesome, man. I can't wait to hear about your interaction with him. I mean, he's one of the very few celebrities out there where I get excited when I get to hear other people talk about the interactions they had with him. He's a great guy, really is.
Yeah, man. I'm also aiming to try to see if I can do an impromptu interview with him during that weekend. So hopefully we'll see. I just gotta warm him up a little bit.
Right. I mean, I don't know how to warm him up. I mean, if I were you, do you got a blanket?
I got more than a blanket, homie.
So as I say, snuggling seems to warm people up.
I hear you.
And
That's already the time.
I
Can't really.
strongly suggest to not ask and just do it.
You know what? That's a good way of approach. I'm going to shoot for that. Unwarranted. I'm not even going to fucking give him a sign.
Right. I mean, you could get away with it if you act special for the first few minutes of it.
Yeah, like really bring down his guard and
Yeah.
like
Oh,
really.
he will drop his guard so quick.
Okay.
But he might not look at you ever the same once you actually try to do a real interview and he realizes that you've been lying. So, I mean, yeah, you gotta figure out if it's worth the chance, John.
If it's worth the squeeze,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much worth the squeeze.
God damn. So, anyways, dude, I greatly appreciate you coming on. Jeff says, my brand new Snuggie, a thermos of hot cocoa, and maybe some LED candles to avoid a fire hazard. That's
No,
also
fuck
a
that.
good way to warm them up.
I'm gonna go with actual wax candles.
I mean, it's a lot more romantic and intimate.
I'm also a risk taker. I'm also a risk taker.
You are. I give you that. You are a risk taker. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you definitely are. But anyways, dude, I want to thank you so much for being able to come on and do this with me, especially the end of season 7, which I mean, all of us real fans of the show, and not, even some of us not real fans of the show, we all know that this season's the worst one to have to review.
You know, I was on Melissa's podcast, right? You know Melissa,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Good Evenings, Kitty's podcast. And my whole thing about the 7th season is it's obviously one of the worst ones. That's hands down. But I always still find a way to enjoy it. Like there's a plenty of hidden gems right there in that season that anybody can enjoy. Like the ones I really enjoy the most are Fatal Caper and Cold War. For some reason, as kooky as those episodes are, I still find some pleasure in enjoying and enjoyment watching those episodes.
Fatal Caper and Cold War?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I will say personally, my favorite from season 7 is probably Report from the Grave.
I didn't like that.
I enjoyed that one. There's something about the concept behind being able to realize and kind of relive a dead person's last few moments and last memories, and there's something kind of just creepy about it, and that I actually really enjoy. But I think it's just more like the concept behind it. And what do you mean? Season 7 is a highlight of Tales from the Crypt? I have no bias for this, as I've only seen a handful of episodes over the year. Yeah, it's
You're trying to get under my skin, huh?
Now, what's your favorite season, John? I have to ask that. I know mine.
See, I'm always torn when someone asks me the question because I have this fondness for season 2, right? But I also love
season 2 is my favorite.
I really love season 3 because season 3, like it was at that point where we started seeing a more articulate Crypt Keeper.
Yeah,
and then we were also seeing a lot more stars in season 3. We were seeing a lot more different takes on and approaches as to how they were filming their episodes.
Right.
And I think it was like there was a lot of variation and different tastes when they were approaching those episodes, making them.
Right.
Season 2 is just fondly attached to me because I remember season 2 being the one where I actually first saw the Crypt Keeper since I was a child and whatnot. And a lot of those season 2 episodes would play constantly on HBO.
Yeah. Well, season 2 for me personally had some of the greatest episodes ever. I mean, we got the ventriloquist dummy, we got Fitting Punishment, we got Corman's Calamity, Lower Burr, Television Terror, Brothers Keeper. Don't get me wrong either. I mean, season 3 is also an amazing season. We got Abracadaver, Carrion Death, Top Billing, which is a very fun one. Reluctant Vampire. I mean, fucking Michael Berryman playing fucking Van Helsing. Come on.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's some great episodes in season 3. The only thing I can say about season 3 is that I dislike the episode Yellow a lot.
Really?
I
Really?
I'm not, you know, when it comes to Tales from the Crypt stories personally, I prefer the ones that we were getting from Vault of Horror, from Tales from the Crypt,
Mhm.
from, the more, the Haunt of Fear episodes, if you will. It's some of these, the Shack Suspense stories ones are cool here and there, but it's, to me personally, I just really enjoy the more horror side of it all.
No, no, I get that. Actually, no, I don't get that. Fuck you, JB, for having an opinion.
I
Fuck that shit. No, you
Sorry.
can't. No, no. You said you don't like yellow. The hell's wrong with you?
I just
You really not,
I just
relax. I'm just fucking with you, Jay. I'm just fucking
it's
no,
cool.
dude.
I
No,
mean,
no,
I expect a military man like yourself to really love that one.
no. Okay. My being in the military has nothing to do with my love for that episode. Not whatsoever. I know. I just like the
Right.
episode.
Well,
But no.
well.
I
First off,
understand
that
100%
wasn't
what
even
you mean.
originally even was that was Yellow was a part of the God fuck the Two Fisted Tail spinoff, right?
Yeah, that was meant to
Yeah.
be an episode for Two Fisted Tales.
It should have stayed that way. That's all I'm saying.
Yo, but if it stayed that way, we never would have got the episode along with King of the Road and Showdown.
Both of those should have stayed over there.
What is wrong with you?
King of the Road is, oh god, I don't
Okay,
know.
no. Okay, granted, King of the Road is not one of the best episodes. Okay,
No,
it
it's
really
not.
isn't.
No,
Showdown at least is pretty good.
I give it Showdown compared to Yellow and King of the
The,
Road. I mean, like,
the
it's a
one
top
okay,
notch
the one
episode.
thing no, the one thing about Two Fisted Tales though that's so bad is how William Sadler brought Mr. Rush into character. You know what I'm saying? Like that is like because he kept
William
reciting the
Sadler is
same
fucking
exact
just
things.
awesome.
Hmm?
Sadler's just awesome.
No, Sadler. No, I'm not criticizing Sadler. I'm criticizing the character he played. Like he's supposed to be his own version of the Crypt Keeper in a wheelchair, and he's just constantly screaming and whatnot, and he's saying the same exact fucking thing over and over again about I didn't even cry, I didn't even whimper. Like
Right.
I enjoyed the character overall, but like him constantly repeating the same fucking thing over and over again kind of got a little okay, we get it. You didn't cry, you didn't whimper. But it just shows though, like if Two Fisted Tales had succeeded though, like we would have seen a whole bunch of different variations of like the EC comics that we would have seen in like what Perversions of Science,
Well,
right?
they should have been different because, like, honestly, like, this is my opinion, but like Tales from the Crypt was definitely more along this horror line, which, to me personally, should have had more of the horror aspects of it, some of the more, actual genre type stuff. The Two Fisted Tales one would have been perfect for the Two Fisted Tales comics, as well as even like the shock suspense stories and stuff like that, and the perversions of science with like the weird science ones and stuff. I mean, I got all of them up here, and I mean, I like them all in different aspects, but like for instance, like the Aces High run, like Aces High would never work in Tales from the Crypt. Two Fisted Tales, you could blend Aces High right in with that, or even the piracy one. I mean, you could blend that right in with something like Two Fisted Tales in comparison, especially if you're doing full adaptations of all EC titles. But I mean, that's just my opinion on the matter.
No,
It would have worked
that's
great, but you would have
fine.
had different, I mean, Two Fisted Tales, unfortunately, would have been trying to appeal to the same crowd that was, big fans of Bonanza.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
a
I hear you.
different kind of stories.
Right. Oh, see that route you were going with, like how they should have approached it. I completely understand, 100% get it. My approach though would have been if I was Joel Silver and I was those HBO producers and shit like that created Tales from the Crypt at that time. The only route you should have went right was to basically go and create your own Vault Keeper and your own Old Witch for the HBO series, and basically make your own Vault of Horror and the Haunt of Fear. if they had done that, right? Because I don't know if they were trying
Everything,
not to
yeah.
do that because of the fact that, like, Kevin Yeager basically designed the Crypt Keeper to be all three ghoul lunatics in one.
Right, right.
But if I mean, because think about it, if
For those who
HBO was
don't know what we're
willing,
talking about.
yes, the Vault Keeper, the Old Witch, and the Crypt Keeper. Okay, so like if HBO was willing to go as far as create a PC game where we saw the Vault Keeper and the Old Witch with the Crypt Keeper in the center, what could we have gotten if there was an HBO version of the Haunts of Fear and you know the uh, the Vault of Horror?
Right.
Like, and that right there, we would have been able to not only do Tales episodes that were specifically for like the EC brand that were Tales from the Crypt episodes or the Crypt of Terror. Then we could have had episodes made by HBO for that were strictly for the Haunts of Fear and strictly for the Vault of Horror. And
Right,
then
but I
in many
mean,
ways,
you got to keep in mind though, in all of those books, I mean, you got stories being told from all three of them.
yeah.
So I mean, like, it would have worked out perfect. I'm sure it would have been over.
Uh,
It
maybe,
would have, I guess, in a way, but in another sense, I mean, like, if you're trying to give the real EC fans out there like a real fucking nod at stuff, I mean, like like the Vault Keepers, he's actually been portrayed on screen. So I mean, that is what it is. But I mean, we've never had the witch on screen. That would have been cool. But
and no, because I get what Unsure is saying because like think about it now. We have all these superhero movies nowadays where we have a collective multiverse of films and characters now. And
right.
now it's all being and now apparently the Marvel Cinematic Universe and DC Universe are basically being oversaturated now in terms of cinema. And now we're kind of moving into away from comic book movies and now we're kind of segueing into video game movies now all of a sudden. Now video game movies are getting big versus comic book movies. It's kind of dying
Right.
down.
None of them are going to be as big as the original movie for Super Mario Brothers.
We're not going to talk about that. But
I don't-
no. Hey. That film has a particular place in my heart because of what I grew up as a kid watching and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, that's a shit show.
Or Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation.
Oh,
One of the greatest.
like when you try to digitally out someone's crack tooth and shit like that, like, and it's clearly obvious. Come on, man.
Oh, dude, it's rough. It's rough.
But yeah,
yeah. Well, let's go ahead and
that's
wrap
all
this
the
up.
conversation we need to have about Tales, like a Tales universe concept.
We're gonna have to do an episode with me and you on what we think the
I'm
next kind of Tales from the Crypt thing should be. You
I'm
know,
all for it.
Maybe in fact we could. I'd be completely down with your idea that you were talking about, earlier. I mean, I think that would be cool getting more of a like. I guess the way I was kind of taking it, the way you said it, was like what because you were talking about like an indie approach to each story of Tales from the Crypt, and people just like making their own. Like, what if they did like an ABCs of Death, but it was Tales from the Crypt, where we're getting like all these shorts? Because I mean, realistically, I mean, if you go and break these down, I mean, what the biggest episode I think is 8-9 pages tops. Most of these issues are based off of 6-7 page stories. So I mean, you could do a lot with a very short period of time with any of these, and I mean, it would be cool almost because I mean, you can get full fucking stories pretty quick and have feature length movies with like 15 shorts in them and still work. And do them almost like a competition type series. Like, like how they did for like ABCs of Death 2, because I know there were a couple of letters where they were doing like competitions for those letters and the best ones were winning. So, some of that stuff is pretty cool. But I mean, I think if they did like that same kind of aspect with Tales from the Crypt, I mean, it could really work.
I'm right there 100% with you. I mean, we're in the age now where fans have the capacity and capability to produce and create content of things that they love a lot more easier than they could a decade ago. Where watching a fan film, you clearly could tell somebody was using some kind of cheap ass, camera, and you could tell the difference between the cinematic value of, you know, something you would see in Hollywood versus something you did on your home camcorder, whatever the case may be, you know, or your
Right.
digital camera. And, you know, a lot of people are getting a lot more sophisticated with the tech that they use to film whatever projects, fan films, fan trailers, you know, fan concepts, you know, like, I don't know if you ever watched, like, for example, if you're a Street Fighter fan, there's Street Fighter Assassin's Fist. That was a YouTube series. You had the Mortal Kombat Rebirth and Legacy web
Yep.
series on YouTube. I don't know if you ever follow Resident Evil, but the Residents of Evil YouTube channel is like made a Dave Arclay pilot to talk about what was going on with the Arclay Mountains, and now they're creating a fan film based on the Keeper's Diary. So like the cinematic value that is now being tailored into the hands of fans. If you had something like that where you had passionate fans who understood the IP and the franchise, they could create something magnificent, you know, with Tales, The Vault of Horror, or the Haunt of Fear. And I like, if I saw it, I'm here for it, and I would love to be a part of that project if it ever happened.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe we just need to do some kind of talking, because I mean, somebody has to be the start of a lot of this stuff, and sometimes it's kind of shitty to have to sit there and wait. Doing something like VHS wouldn't be too bad. Indie films with the wraparound with the old Witch or something. I mean, that's basically what I'm getting at. You know, like
yeah, absolutely.
At this point in the game, I mean, that's about as good as it's going to get, because we're like expecting a whole series is. I mean, because let's be honest, even if we get a series at this point, it's going to be like what 8 to 10 episode seasons, and it's not going to have the same effect. Personally, it's going to be different. But anyways, that's a story and a whole topic for another time.
Mm-hmm.
John, dude, I definitely want to thank you so much for giving me this time of yours. I know it was inconvenient as hell. I know I ruined your entire day, and I'm sure your wife hates me for it.
Yeah, we tested because you asked us on a Saturday if we were busy, you know, or if I was busy. No, just dude, like you're looking way too.
No. It's an inside joke for those who don't know about when John first starts talking to me. You guys have no idea what we're talking about, but
no. But for those of you out there and whatnot, I basically just gave him shit on purpose just to fuck with him. I was basically like, "Oh yeah, you know, you just ruined my fucking day by asking me to do this shit like 2 hours prior." You know,
basically.
No. It's an absolute pleasure being on the podcast as always. Because for those of you in Tales from the Podcast land, you know, I was a former host, and I always had a distinct pleasure and love for JB and being on the show and talking about these episodes. You know, and of course, you know, stuff got in the way of that, having to continue being on the podcast. And aside from that, whenever I do get these opportunities to be on his show, I am always thrilled and excited to be a part of it. And I always look for new opportunities to do so. So,
oh, dude, you don't even need to look. If you got a free time and you want to just jump in, you're more than welcome at any point in time. That's there's nothing there that's gonna stop that. And you know, I mean, sorry for those who are strongly supportive of the military, but fuck the army for making you have other priorities and not being able to do more.
Well, no, like trust me, and a lot of people, like, the army is getting a lot better when it comes to trying to free up time for its soldiers. Right. However, it's always still like, no, we are ingrained with the whole you're a soldier 24/7 thing, and a lot of our time is demanded. And so like that kind of stuff, I do my best to try to not only make time for myself, because I also have to take care of my other, you know, priorities in life as a man, husband, you know, and provider, then trying to handle creating the channel and making it better. You know, it's a lot of limited time. And, you know, I go to the gym, you know, almost every day. So there's a lot of limited time and availability that I have. I've been enjoying the upscale versions of Tales on your channel. They look amazing. I am extremely happy that you are enjoying it, Jeff. And for all the Tales fans out there, like, I am thrilled that you all had a positive reception to the episodes and the content that I have. You know, I'm just doing everything I can to try to basically creates those episodes for you, but also for your discretion, JB, as well. I'm trying to come up with a new system to where I can basically give you guys the episodes. That way you can have it at your personal leisure. I'm trying to develop a system and a way of going about it to where, because the one big thing I'm trying to avoid is somebody purchasing the episodes and then basically re-uploading them and trying to claim them as their own. So I'm trying to come up with a way of making it so that people know that this is my work and they cannot try to take credit for it. So
That's a very difficult
but
process.
it is because a lot of people nowadays they like just I don't know if you ever noticed, JB, but this doll right here, okay? I have a Instagram page of this doll taking photos of him.
I've noticed. If you
Now,
notice, there that same page has had pictures with my comic book in that doll.
yes, that's the doll that he's used or that I've taken photos with of his comic books for him. But this doll that I've been taking photos of, people take the photos that I create of him and they basically try to use it to sell like Spencer's versions of their of dolls.
Oh yeah, I know.
So they try to rip people off using my photos.
Dude, do you think I haven't noticed when you started putting watermarks on them?
Yeah,
like,
and I don't know, like
I'm a
so.
very observant guy. I
Yeah, so
trust
no,
me.
I have to gauge my fan base and I have to gauge the fans, period, on the idea of possibly adding a very small watermark into the videos and into every episode. Because obviously, as a fan, when you're watching these, right, you're not gonna want to watch them with a fucking watermark, right? Who would want that? That's bullshit.
I do it even on my advertising stuff. I mean, it's the only way to really be safe about shit. That's for sure.
Yes, but at the same time, like you're like
I
if
keep
it were
it
me,
like
like,
off to the sides though. So I mean, you don't get me wrong. People can probably crop out the ones I do, but I mean, I
yeah,
just
people try to find a way to be deceitful and try to basically take away your work. And I've seen it done with this fucking doll, where they've
I believe
like
it.
try to blur out the watermark that I put on it. But like I said, I'm just basically trying to sum this all up. I'm trying to come up with a way to give the fans what they want, and that way they can have them at their own personal leisure. You don't need YouTube. You don't need the internet. And people have been throwing out that like, yo, listen, we'll pay you for these episodes, but I just want to come up with a way that way I'm happy, y'all are happy, and then y'all can enjoy the episodes at your own leisure
Right,
and time.
right, and it's yeah, it can be difficult. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Just as I have, um, I got to be friends with an artist out here in California that has artwork taken and being sold in merch was not. Yeah, I mean that happens all the time. Unfortunately, I mean, dude, if you go to Teespring or TeePublic or any kind of T-shirt sale site, you're gonna see it all over the place. Especially characters from horror stuff. I mean, you'll see Freddy and likenesses of Jason on stuff. I mean, 99% of the stuff you're seeing out there is probably fake. Hell, you know how many fake Tales from the Crypt shirts and stuff are out there? I mean, it's insane. It's just
Yeah.
it's an unfortunate part of everything with this, though, and I mean, it's what makes some of the actual real merchandise worth such a larger amount. But anyways, we got to wrap this up, dude. I want to thank you so much again, dude. It's always a fucking pleasure. Um,
Likewise.
Thanks everyone for listening and being part of this episode and checking it out with us. Remember to please check out John's YouTube over at youtube.com/at CryptTube Incorporated. And I got that shared through everything. And if you're watching this or listening to it on the podcast, it is also in the show notes. Or if you've ever actually sat here and been part of any episode, you'll notice that I send you a video to watch for the episode. If you just subscribe to that channel, you'll see more of John's work because I only send out his stuff to people because his is the best. And there's really no
Oh,
way
you gotta
around
make
that.
a brown man blush. You're so my shit is warm right
You're
now.
good, man. I'm just being honest, dude. And
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I've watched before years. I mean, I got the DVDs, I got the movies and stuff. I mean, I got all that shit. But
That's right.
if you're trying to watch them on a smart TV, sometimes it's more convenient just YouTube. And 99% of them look like shit. And Yeah, it goes hand in hand probably because I have a very large TV. But your 4K ones, I mean, they're beautiful. They really
Thank
are.
you.
And Jeff, go to his channels. It's worth it because of his hard. I mean,
Thank you,
it's
Jeff.
worth it because of the quality too. I mean, you do a great job, man. But we're
I
gonna get
appreciate
out
it.
of here, man. I want to thank you again. You got anything else you want to say before we close this?
No, I'm good. I'm
No.
all set. Thank you. You pretty much plugged me in as much as
I,
possible.
I do what I can, and for old time's sake, John. Um, with that being said,
The crypt is closed.
Thanks for listening, kiddies. You're all a scream.